Mastering CNC machining starts by understanding basic toolpath concepts. In this lesson, we're going to go over cutting strategies that directly affect the finish and price of your designs. So let's get into it. It's finally time to start talking about how to program and machine our parts. Now, the first thing we need to understand though is that there's different types of machining that we can do, and understanding the key terms is going to help us when we're programming to make an efficient finished part. Now, coming over to the board, we're going to start going over new key terms. And on this one, we're going to have 4 in this lesson. The first one being roughing passes. Now, whenever we say the word pass, it means that we're moving the part or the end mill through the material in whatever pattern that is needed to finish that part. When we say roughing, we're aggressively doing it. We're trying to remove the material as quickly and efficiently as possible to save time, which also saves money. With this aggressive cutting, we can also use purpose-built tooling that allows us to cut much faster, even though that tooling might not have as good of a finish at the very end. The reason why we can leave a little bit of finish at the end is because we leave stock behind. And so stock is a new word for us here. That stock is excess material outside of the cutting surface that matches up to the finished part. And that can be up to 10 to 30 thousandths thick. You can do it a little bit more, a little less. It depends on the flavor of the machinist or the programmer that is doing the part. Now, we're looking to remove this material fast, and then we're going to finish it later. And that moves on to our finishing pass. Our finishing pass are lighter passes with a tool meant for having a high surface finish. When I say surface finish, I'm talking about a good cosmetic look with less tooling marks. These light passes are anywhere from 5 thousandths of an inch to 20 thousandths of an inch. And if we talk about going backwards in our lessons, we want to make sure we have enough meat of material that we're not just rubbing the end mill on the material, we're actually taking a chunk off of it so we don't burn up our end mill. Now, this removal of remaining stock is from the roughing phase. So we're always going to do a roughing pass before a finishing pass. And this is going to lead to a better surface finish. Now, there's a handful of bonuses to doing this as well. We're going to end up having a tighter tolerance. With these lighter passes, we're going to have less tool deflection during our finishing passes. And even though carbide and high-speed steel end mills are very, very hard, they definitely do deflect during that cutting pass. Now, we're also going to reduce our tooling marks. This is purely cosmetic, but we're going to see less of that scalloping at the very end, which we're going to go over later. We can also get tighter internal radiuses. In the example that we're going to go over in this lesson, we're going to start off with a 3/4 inch end mill, which is going to do the majority of the material removal. One, this removes more material in each pass since it is a larger diameter, but it limits the radius that we can do inside of our internal pockets. We then switch to a 1/2 inch end mill for our finishing pass, being able to drop down and do the final radius that is in our part. Now, when I start talking about that stock remaining, we can do it in 2 different ways. We can have it on the radial. So if we look at the end mill, we have the end mill coming down. This is our material and this is what we're removing. Radial means the outside, the radius of the outside of our end mill. And then we can also leave stock at the end of our end mill as well, or tangential. That ends up making it so that we can have control over how much we want to do the depth as well as the side on our finishing passes here. Now, when we're actually cutting, we're going to switch gears here to a slightly different topic. How we cut and the direction in which we cut with respect to where the RPMs of our spindle are turning is going to change the surface finish. And so we're going to talk about 2 different types on that. So we have climb cutting and conventional cutting. Conventional, although it sounds like it would be the conventional way of doing it, is actually the unconventional way. We want to do climb cut finishes because we're going to end up getting a better finish. What that means though is that as that end mill is spinning in a clockwise rotation, we're going to feed in the direction of our end mill here. If I grab a marker here, on this, we're going to be taking the largest amount of cut at the very beginning, and then it's going to thin out. So our chips are going to get thinner as we cut through it. versus conventional. Conventional is where we're rotating and we're feeding into that rotation. So we're going to take the thinnest cut and end with the largest cut, the exact opposite. What we end up seeing with conventional is that we can see chatter and we can see a lot of leftover tool marks on this, leaving a much rougher surface finish. You definitely want to climb cut. It's also more efficient for the end mill. Now that we fully understand that, let's jump onto CAD here and go over an example of both the roughing and the finishing pass. So now that we're in here in CAD, we can see that I have that same part that we've gone over in previous lessons. We're going to be in the manufacturing phase, and we can end up seeing that I've already created a setup. We're going to go over setups in a later lesson, but if I click on this, we can see a lighter box that's around the outside of my part. This would be considered the billet or the stock of the part that we're looking for. Within this, I created two tool paths. We can see the tool in a faint image right here, as well as our secondary finishing tool as well. If I right click and I edit this, the first thing we're going to see is a pop-up window going over our feeds and speeds. A lot of this should be familiar from a previous lesson. If it's not, go back and go ahead and review that material. Additionally, up here on the top, you can see that I'm using a 3/4 inch flat end mill. Moving over, we have our geometry at the bottom of the pocket selected. We're going to go over this all in a lot more detail. But what I'm first showing you is that in our passes section, I'm leaving that stock behind. And we can see that radial stock, and we can see axial stock being at 20 thousandths of an inch. So kind of in that middle of the window that I was recommending. This is going to leave, and we can see this tooltip pop up, helping describe what we are already talking about as well. If I click OK, I can right click on 2D Adaptive, go to Simulate, and I can run a simulation showing how this is going to come into the stock. If I turn off transparent in my window there, I can see how this end mill is going to do a helical pattern down into the material. We're going to go over those advanced features as well, and then work slowly out into the corners of my pocket here. Once it finishes, we can turn back on transparent, rotate to the top, and if we zoom in, we can see that the stock material compared to this darker line here, which is the edge of our pocket in our design, is still there. So we've left that 20 thousandths of an inch there, as well as if we look at it from a side profile, we can also see it coming all the way around. Now that we can see that we've left that stock material to be removed later, we can now look at our finishing pass. Again, right-clicking, edit. We can see that I've switched out to a 1/2 inch end mill, and the feeds and speeds are now according to a newer, lower tooth rate so that we have a good surface finish here as well. If I go to passes, I do not have finish or stock to leave in here checked anymore. We're going to be doing just a straight finish pass. Clicking OK. This end mill is going to drop into that pocket and then do a final pass on that. So if we go to Simulate, this would be our second tool. Clicking OK. We can actually get rid of this helical pattern since the material's already been removed. We can see in here. But you can see that as we zoom in, we're actually removing that 20 thousandths of an inch going down to the final part dimension. As this finishes up, it's going to come out, clean up those outside radiuses, and finish off the part here. Now, there's a ton of different tool path concepts that we can go over, and that's why we're going to break this up into multiple lessons. So that finishes up these concepts. In the next lesson, we're going to go over additional ones as well. So we'll see you there.